So I'm 33 years old and I just learned this lesson last year. And it's honestly been one of the most transformational lessons I've learned in my entire life, because it helped me understand why I act a certain way, especially when it comes to relationships. Because as you know, relationships shape who we are. From how our parents raised us to how our friends influenced us, our relationships made us. So if you didn't have the best relationships growing up, then you most likely don't have the best relationship with yourself and with others. And I'm gonna be real with you, that's pretty much everybody. Because relationships aren't perfect, especially with the people who raised us. I mean, just look at almost every popular TV show or movie. There's always the main plot, and then there's always a second plot that deals with the relationship of the main character and their parents. So the reality is, you're most likely dealing with some trauma from how you were raised. And it doesn't have to be something as extreme as abuse. Trauma can stem from events that might not seem that significant. For example, maybe one time you were vulnerable with your parents, and they ignored you, they laughed, or they told you to suck it up and be a man. As a result, you kept everything bottled up inside and you never expressed yourself again. And now that affects your relationships today. You feel like you can't tell your partner anything because they'll react the same way. Again, relationships shape who we are. And even though we can't control how people treat us, it's still our responsibility to deal with those consequences from those relationships if we want to improve our relationships today. So that's why I'm making this video. I want to share this information with you so that you can improve your relationship with yourself and with others. So before we get into it, understand this. The people who raised you act a certain way because that's how they were raised. And this goes back for generations. So this is your opportunity to change the story. And I believe it starts with understanding your attachment style. Because once you understand which one you are, then you'll be more aware of your behaviors. And awareness is the first step into changing destructive behaviors. So there are 4 main attachment styles. However, I'm only going to talk about the 3 that are most likely affecting your relationships. But before we go further, just know that I'm not an expert. So I'm not going to go super into detail with these. I just want you to be aware of them so you can look into it for yourself. So let's get started with the first one, anxious attachment style. Basically, you fear abandonment. So as a result, you tend to overthink and overanalyze every word and action from your partner, friends, and parents. You always think that any little change in their behavior is them losing interest in you. Therefore, your life is an emotional roller coaster. You're always questioning whether they're going to leave you or not. And this attachment style stems from your early relationships with your caregivers. Most likely, your caregivers were inconsistent with how they raised you. For example, sometimes they were caring and nurturing, and other times they seemed distant and unresponsive. So that kept you on edge. You never knew how your caregiver was going to respond to you. So if you believe you have an anxious attachment style, the one thing that can help you the most is awareness. Simply being aware that you're anxious and realizing that you are not your thoughts and feelings. Also look back into your life to try to identify where it might have started. Because once you start feeling anxious, you could just remind yourself, oh, I'm just feeling this way because this happened. Then you'll be able to calm yourself down. So the second attachment style is called avoidant. And basically, you fear getting close to people. And this could be for many reasons, such as fear of intimacy, commitment, rejection, fear of losing your independence, and fear of being let down. For instance, the more serious your relationships become, the more distant you become. And this attachment style also stems from your early relationships with your caregivers. More than likely, your caregivers were emotionally unavailable or unresponsive, and that led you to rely on yourself. So you're not used to people being caring and nurturing to your needs. It actually scares you. That's why you push people away. So if you believe you have this attachment style, again, awareness will help you because it'll help you understand why you push people away. And the final attachment style is called disorganized. Basically, it's a mix of anxious and avoidant. And this is what I believe I have. Because in my past relationships, I craved closeness. However, when I got closer to people, I felt like they would leave me. So I pushed them away before that could happen. I self-sabotaged my relationships. And I believe this stems back to my first day in kindergarten, because I was that kid who would cry every single day because I didn't want to go to school. But the reason I cried is because I didn't want to be separated from my mom. Even though we have to go to school, as a kid it didn't make sense to me. I just felt like my mom was leaving me. In addition, another event that triggered my disorganized attachment style happened in high school. I had a best friend throughout elementary school, and he was actually my closest friend ever. However, once we got into high school, he went his separate way and found a different group of friends, which made me feel abandoned. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I've overcome this attachment style. However, I feel like I'm in a much better position than I was before. Because by simply understanding these two events, I'm able to understand why I act a certain way in relationships. For example, the self-sabotaging. So again, awareness is the answer. I mean, that's why I made this video. I want you to be aware of which attachment style you might have so you can improve your relationships. You'll have the awareness and knowledge to understand what's happening instead of letting your feelings hijack you. I hope this video was helpful. Now go out there and research your attachment style. Much love.